The electric guitar is an incredible tonal machine. It's a smorgasbord of tonal possibilities. And today we're going to take a look at how we can open up that playbook and utilize those different sounds and get them into your fingers. Let's take a look. So the word piano in Italian means soft. So the pianoforte was soft, loud. The thing about the guitar, whether it's an acoustic or an electric, the tonal possibilities are pretty much endless. So with a piano, the tone you have is the tone you have. But with guitar, we have this wide range of frequencies. And that's where the whole entire industry comes from. Different types of woods, different types of guitars, pedals, amps, all of it is dealing with frequencies. So every guitar has an inherent built-in frequency spectrum. When you play closer to the nut, it sounds brighter and it's a little thinner. And as you work your way towards the middle, things get fatter. So keep that in mind. It's a little fatter in the middle and it's kind of thinner on the outside. So if I play a note here, then I play it here, it's a lot thinner here and it's fatter here. And that's just my pick position changing. See, this is thinner and fatter. So everything we do is going to kind of work around that principle. Now, the other thing that makes the guitar really unique, different from the piano for sure, is we have different timbre with the same pitch. So what is timbre? Timbre is kind of like the weight of the note, I suppose. Like if I'm 6 feet 4 inches tall and I weigh 190. If I was 5 feet tall and I weighed 190, I would look a lot different, but the scale would not know the difference. The scale would think I was the same weight. So much the same with the guitar. If I play this note here, then I go to the pitch right here on the 5th fret of the B string and then 9th fret of G, 12th fret of D, 17th fret of A, or if I bend the 22nd fret of low E, if I could hit it. See? Now that's the same pitch on every one of those strings. It sounds different. It has a different timbre. So now we're in a whole new territory that the piano doesn't cover. So what we can do with an electric guitar is we can utilize our electronics to maximize that inherent quality of the guitar. The fact that it's on the, I call this north, south, east, and west. So on the east, it's a little thinner. It gets a little rounder here, then it gets thinner again as we go off the cliff here into the ocean. And this is going to be fatter sounding here and thinner here, okay? But then the individual strings have their own timbre as well. That's such a cool combination. So with electric guitar, we have something called a humbucker and something called a single coil. This particular guitar is a hum, sing, hum. Think of the humbucker as being rounder, fatter, warmer, brown. It was a Gibson sound. It's 2 different magnets that were created to stop something called 60 cycle hum, which is this annoying sound you get when you're recording. You can hear this noise with a single coil. So they developed the humbucker to buck that hum. So the humbucker is going to be a fatter, beefier sound. The single coil, on the other hand, is going to sound glassy or shimmery or chimey. It's only 1 pickup versus 2. So that's an important thing to realize when you're doing this tonal mapping and matching to the inherent qualities of the instrument. Is to use the right pickups in the right places. This guitar has 24 different sounds. That's why I'm using it for this demonstration. It's pretty unique in the way that it works. So when I record, I use what I call the 4 food groups: the Les Paul, Telecaster, 335, and the Stratocaster. Telecaster and Stratocaster are on the Fender side, and the Les Paul and the 335 are more on the Gibson side. So behind me, there's an entire sort of row of instruments up there, and they all have different tonal characteristics built into them with different types of woods, et cetera, et cetera. That's for a different lecture. But when making an album, I'd like to use different types of guitars to maximize their inherent quality. This guitar was created for live playing because I can get all the different sounds out of one instrument. Let's take a look at how the electronics work, and then we're going to match them to the inherent qualities of the instrument as far as the tones go. So down here in the bridge pickup, I'm using my humbucker right here. So I'm playing out of my Fractal Axe FX3, and I've got a matchless DC30 amp. It's a nice clean sound with a little bit of delay, some multi-delay and some reverb. So that's the humbucker down here. And so that sounds kind of thin, right? If I put on the neck humbucker, it already sounds fatter. See the difference? Thinner, fatter, right? So that's why this bridge humbucker might work better for something that's going to be played down here on the thinner side of the guitar, down here, versus this. Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, if there's something opposite, but basically any kind of riff play down here, you're likely to want to use the bridge humbucker for down here. It doesn't sound as good up here as maybe the neck humbucker does. So there's inherent tonal characteristics of the instrument, and we're going to match the pickups with that. This switch on this guitar makes this a single coil, which really makes things nice and thin. So if I'm playing something country, I'm likely to use this as a single coil. So I kind of match the pickup to the sound I'm getting. Humbucker again, if we put some distortion on, again, this amp's not going to be super gainy. It's not made for that. If I go, it's going to sound better if I play versus this. Hear the difference? That's why we have to match the pickup with the tonal characteristics of the instrument. Turn the distortion back off again. Now, if I go to the second position, this is the second position for a Stratocaster. It's going to be these two single coils together. They actually function as a humbucker. It's hum canceling in its nature. This sound is really cool, this in-between sound. This is where we start to get into kind of the shimmery, chimey single coil world I was talking about. See, it's nice and pretty and beautiful down here. And that would match well with like some chorus sound. Here's some chorus. Right? That's a pretty sound. Now in the blues world, if I were to play something like this song, I'm going to use that pickup down here. It just sounds right for that song. So you're going to start to learn to match the sounds of the songs with your hands, with the guitar. And again, this is before we ever worry about pedals, we ever worry about amps. And that's a totally legitimate thing to get good at. Like when I'm playing live, I'm matching not only the sounds of what I'm getting with my hands here, but I'm also matching the proper, with Fractal, I've got 48 different amplifiers dialed in for my live sound. So I can mix and match timbre with 48 different amplifiers. And then there's all the pedals too, right? So I got all those different amp sounds dialed in, plus all the different distortion pedal types. And then you add effects on top of that. Oh my goodness, it's an incredible smorgasbord of different possibilities. But back to just the instrument itself, with this kind of basic sound, it's a little bit of chorus, or sorry, a little bit of delay, some multi-delay and some reverb. A nice clean sound, but it's not completely dry, because I think completely dry is, for me, is kind of like eating toast. I don't know. Now, I will say that when I record, I use a dry sound. No effects at all, but that's for a different lecture. So, lecture talk. So this is that second position. Now, if I go to the middle position, that's just this one single coil right here. That's going to have more of a, I think, like a 50s kind of sound. So that's the middle pickup. It's, again, in the chimey single coil world. So down here, I'm going to play something nice and chimey. You use that, or maybe a part for your song that you're creating that is more soft. You wouldn't want to do that necessarily with a humbucker. You might use something more like this sound for those parts that are in the background, the nice textural parts. This position are these two single coils. And that is the ultimate Jimi Hendrix sound. So that's kind of like your sound. And I think that's the best sound on the Stratocaster. Again, single coil, but very, very chimey sounding. But it has this nice kind of pocket. And what that is these two singles together, again, it's creating a humbucker because the two single coils are hum canceling. Then if I come up here and play a single coil up here, so if you had a Stratocaster, it'd be a single coil neck pickup. That's like the lead sound for a Stratocaster. And again, because it's a little fatter, it's going to sound nice up here on the 12th fret. Nice and fat there. And again, I'm using an amp it's kind of pretty sounding on purpose, so it's not going to have that same growl if I were to use the amp that would be growling. Now, as soon as I make this into a humbucker up here, this is your jazz sound. It's a little fatter, so up on the 12th fret, if I use that humbucker, it's going to sound really good for those licks versus maybe this. Now, it sounds okay, but it really sounds nice to use the humbucker up there. See, so lick like that's actually tuned down a half step, so I played it a half step lower. If I play this, it doesn't sound exactly right, does it? So now what I'm doing is I'm matching the pickups with the inherent position on the guitar. So another thing you can do, this guitar, is I could do these two humbuckers together, and that's a nice sound. That's more like kind of like more like the Santana sound. So you can see then, with whatever kind of guitar you have, you can start to match your pickups and your playing with the proper position. Any song you have that has kind of a rock sound, if you're playing a rock sound, you want to go like you're going to be down here. And then up here, maybe to get something a little rounder or more bluesy. And you can mix and match those constantly. I'm constantly switching back and forth. You can also utilize the tone knob as well. Eric Clapton famously rolled back the tone knob on the bridge pickup to create something called the woman tone. So you can manipulate that as well too. Tend to have it closer to 10, but there are definitely times where I roll it off if I want to make things a little less obnoxious. So while you're playing with your different type of guitar, whether it's a humbucker guitar, like sometimes guitars have two humbuckers, if it's three singles, or if it's, in this case, a hum, sing, hum, you can play with your different pickups to match the sound of the type of song you want to play. And then also the type of part. If it's something spatial and soft in the background, the single coils are your best friend. If it's something more rockin', maybe you want to use your bridge pickup. If you have a single coil on here, it's going to work too. Up here, if you have a single coil for soloing, or a humbucker, it's going to sound nice and round. Here's the single version of the same thing. So it's a pretty special guitar, but you can do all these things with your own instrument too. Now let's do this. I'm going to match my pickups with the different positions on the guitar to maximize the tonal characteristic differences you can get from the different strings, how the timbres will change. We're going to go from southeast to northwest. Check it out. I won't change pickups first. Here we go. See here, it's getting fatter. Fatter still. If I change my picking position, that'll make a difference. So now it's really starting to change. Now what I'm going to do next is match the pickups with that and look at the variance. Check this out. I'll start with a single coil first. Then we'll go to the middle pickup for this one maybe. It's getting a little fatter. Let's do a single coil here on the neck pickup with a single coil. And then I'm going to use the full humbucker up here. So this lick right here is the same as this lick here. That's amazing. So that's what we can do with the guitar. An incredible thing. So I think of this as like a classical composer. If you had strings, brass, and woodwind, you can give that pitch, whatever the lick is, whatever the phrase, I guess it wasn't called a lick back then, whatever the phrase, the motif is, you can give it to the brass or the strings or the woodwinds, and you can play the same pitches, but the tonal characteristics are totally different. So whatever instruments are in the same frequency range, you can have a brass sound of that, a string sound of that, or a woodwind sound of that, and the timbre will be completely different. And that's how the composers in their minds, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, they would actually, in order, be Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, kind of going backwards there. They would utilize the orchestra to get these different sounds out. And that's what I want to do with the guitar, is use the instrument to get different tonal sounds like an orchestra. And then when you couple that with the different pedals, and you couple that with different amplifier sounds, like my Fractal world, I have 48 different amplifiers dialed in. And then I have a smorgasbord of different distortion sounds and all the modulation effects on top of that, the flangers, the phasers, the chorus, the delays, multi-delays, so that's not really modulation necessarily. And then rotary and tremolo, all those different sounds. Oh my goodness. It's an incredible, just huge world of different tones you can get. And it makes playing in a band so great because you can match your sound to whatever you're wanting to hear in your head. It's great for recording, right? Whatever sound you hear in your head, you can get that out for your recording. And it's also great for teaching. When I'm teaching lessons and somebody brings in music for me to learn, I can pretty much match the guitar tone that the artist is using by doing this thing that I'm doing right now. Again, when recording a record, I'd be more likely just to use a different guitar for a different sound. So start playing around with this concept. Utilize the different sounds of your pickups and match those with thinner here on the east, fatter towards the middle of the guitar, heading to the west, gets thinner again. Where your pickups match, you can use the bridge pickup for here, and then the pickups kind of go like this. Bridge into the middle with the pickups back this way. Whether we have singles or humbuckers or a combination of those, you can do this and kind of go to the middle and back again and really maximize that tonal characteristic. You're going to find you have your own sound, not only because what your left hand's doing. People obviously know that it's obviously important to have different types of vibrato and all those types of things. And your left hand makes a huge difference in your sound, but your right hand does too. When I'm playing Randy Rhoads, for example, Aussie stuff, I have to make my hand a little smaller to sound like Randy because I'm 6'4". So my hand's bigger, where my hand naturally lays on the guitar is in a slightly different spot than his. Those little nuances make all the difference. All right, so I hope you enjoy this new approach or this new mindset of looking at your guitar like a tonal palette. Whether you have a Gibson-style guitar or a Fender-style guitar or something like this, which is a super strat, like a hum, sing, hum, you can start to maximize your strings with the different timbres and different positions and your hand positioning and the pickups to make all that kind of work together. Most of your sound comes from your fingers, but the guitar is definitely second before we worry about amps and pedals and all those other things. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. There's lots of lessons coming soon. Lots of guitar lessons and gear reviews and other guitar related things, technique lessons. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next lesson.